Let's talk more about this. Former German ambassador to NATO, Joachim Bitterlich, is joining us live from Normandy. Mr. Bitterlich has held several positions in the German government, including the role of policy advisor to former Chancellor Helmut Kohl. Ambassador Joachim, thank you very much for making time for us, and welcome to WION World is One. I'll begin by asking you, how would you assess the war so far? Because it's been more than a month.
Perhaps in the eyes of the Israelis, the war is too long. Should have been shorter for them, because now they are coming more and more under pressure to allow much more, let's say, in troubled, in difficult waters in that period now.
Ambassador Joachim, what do you think about Israeli forces attacking hospitals? And, you know, this is a very precarious situation because premature babies are being forced to move or to relocate to Egypt now. What would be your call to Israel when it comes to hospitals and refugee camps?
Well, the Israeli military people, the IDF, suppose that under this hospital or around this hospital there have been command structures of Hamas. And please be aware, before the war, often premature born children, babies were not brought to Egypt, but to Israel in the past. This is the past. And the Israelis think that around the hospital, below the hospital, there are command structures of Hamas. We have seen pictures of this in the last 24 hours, and this was mean, to some extent, a misuse, an abuse of hospital structures by Hamas. And the Israelis try to prove this. On the other hand, Hamas is playing what I call the humanitarian card in this field. But the hope is there, and I think negotiations have been progressed on that side to have at least a certain ceasefire during some days with the first exchange of hostages. For me, it was the astonishing fact are the hostages? Because take hostages is a war crime, a clear war crime. It's a terrorist attack, and this has become, to some extent, a secondary subject. The first subject has become collateral damage of such a war. And that's the whole difficulty of the Israelis in this war. And second, the last subject is for me perhaps even the most important at the end. It's strange for me observing for the last 2 decades, no one has been speaking anymore about the two-state solution. And the subject is coming up again on the agenda. And I think it's time. It's never too late in politics. It's never too late in diplomacy. But it's now really time to find really a political solution of a Palestinian problem.
Ambassador Joachim, let's talk about that solution and that diplomacy that you mentioned there. Russian President Vladimir Putin is expected to take part in the virtual BRICS summit on Gaza on Tuesday. And leaders of BRICS nations, including the new members, as well as top United Nations officials, will hold a video call to discuss the Israel-Hamas conflict. This has been going on for quite a while now. We've seen diplomacy efforts by the United States. Who will Israel or Hamas listen to?
Well, there are certain internal difficulties within the Israeli war cabinet. It's well known now. But on the other hand, you know, I'm expecting another actor finally taking position or perhaps even acting. It's Saudi Arabia. If Saudi Arabia wants to be what I call the most powerful nation on the Arab Peninsula, I think it's time that the Saudis, let's say, leave their defensive position, and they should invite the conflict parties, let's say, to a fast-track conference to stop the war. And frankly spoken, I'm a bit astonished by this Saudi defensive position. We leave it to Qatar, yes, to be the mediator on humanitarian questions, but I think on the political subject, I think the Americans have come to limits because of Israel. It's true. On the other hand, I think the Saudis could take a much more active part in this to stop this war.
All right, Ambassador Joachim Bitterlich, thank you very much for talking to WION World is One today.
A pleasure as always.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.